So, what do you and Chris have planned for this weekend? Girl, you already know. Don't forget to go and pick up your condoms because you know that you're fertile. Girl, I can't get pregnant. I'm breastfeeding. No, I can't get pregnant. The doctor said that I can't get pregnant because when the baby is nursing, no pregnancy. What the heck is that supposed to mean? Girl, I can't get pregnant. I'm breastfeeding. I'm pretty sure that that's not how that works. Breastfeeding is basically birth control. I don't even think that you breastfeed him that. How old is he? Oh, Junior is 7 months. He's 7 months. He's so big. He already holds his own bottle. He's smart. It's breast milk. No, he's 7 months and he's on solids. So pregnancy amenorrhea doesn't work that way. You got a tampon? I think I'm about to start. Last week you asked me for a tampon. Like you already have your menstrual cycle back. And part of your menstrual cycle is potential fertility. So this isn't working for you. So your baby is 7 months. You've already had a menstrual cycle. And you still think that you can't get pregnant because you breastfeed.
Is breastfeeding birth control? I see this topic, it feels like every other day or every other week on Facebook. Somebody goes, oh, breastfeeding is, or I can't get pregnant because I'm breastfeeding. Or somebody goes, breastfeeding isn't birth control. So which one is it? Is it birth control? Is it not? And the answer is more complicated than you think. So there's a special sequence of circumstances that contribute to breastfeeding delaying the return of your menstrual cycle. A lot of women just take it as I'm breastfeeding partially or breastfeeding sometimes and I supplement sometimes, and that can count as breastfeeding, and that is breastfeeding amenorrhea or amenorrhea due to lactation, which is the absence of the menstrual cycle due to lactation. But I wanted to kind of address those circumstances that contribute to women not having a cycle. I'm gonna have my little pen. To women not having a cycle while they're breastfeeding. So the first thing that I want to cover is the exclusivity of breastfeeding. And for that, I mean, like literally, you're feeding baby on demand. And this includes cluster feeding. This includes those middle of the night feedings. You're feeding baby when baby is hungry. And this is a lot within those. For breastfeeding mothers, we know it's a lot in those first couple months because we're feeding every 2 to 3 hours. But that contributes to you not having a cycle. So after we deliver baby, we have a really big drop in progesterone, and estrogen is also suppressed, oxytocin is increased, and prolactin is also increased. And prolactin is what helps us to suppress that estrogen and suppress the return of that cycle, or delay it more so, because eventually, estrogen will rear her pretty little head and say, hey, it's time for us to, get back on the bandwagon and making little babies, right? But sorry, I had like a little something back there. One of my kids is up. But that exclusivity or breastfeeding exclusively is super important when we're talking about delaying the cycle, because the moment the baby starts waking in the middle of the night or sleeping through the full night, or having larger stretches of sleep, this puts us at risk at having our cycle back because the estrogen is no longer suppressed, and it says, hey, maybe we should get pregnant again. And you're like, nah, let's not. So it kind of plays with the hormones a little bit internally. For most women, this doesn't happen until baby is about 6 months. For myself, what happened was my son was a really, really great sleeper at about 6 weeks. And he decided that he wanted to sleep for a 6-hour stretch. And I'm like, oh great, this is going to completely ruin my cycle. Like my cycle is going to come back soon. And it did. It ended up coming back at about 3 months with him, because he started sleeping longer through the night. But I knew that it would, because I knew that I wasn't nursing him as much as I needed to in order for it to suppress my cycle. With my daughter, she was a textbook nurser. She nursed every 2 hours, all the way up until all the way up until I said no, really. And my cycle didn't return with her until she was about 9 months old. So completely different circumstances. Still nursed exclusively, but with my son, he nursed less during the night, and because of that, my cycle returned. Another reason why your cycle may return quicker is that we introduce solids too soon. So introducing solids is, again, giving a break in between nursing sessions and having and suppressing that prolactin that we need to produce milk, that we need to suppress estrogen and help to delay that cycle. So when we introduce solids, then that gives us a greater chance of our cycle returning. Most moms, or a large chunk of moms, will start to see their cycle come back at 6 months. And guess what? What happens around there? Everybody starts to introduce the solids at around that time. Babies are sitting up independently, or they're at least trying. They're a little wobbly at it, but they're getting all of those solids during that time. And because of that, they're nursing less, and that may just give us back our cycle. So most experts will recommend not relying on breastfeeding as a form of birth control at that time. It's funny, because you're like, I will see women and they'll be like, oh yeah, I nursed my baby and I still got pregnant. And you're like, how old is your baby? They're like 10 months. And I'm like, duh. But it's fun to educate and to give that information, because we weren't taught that. We weren't taught a lot about lactation. We weren't taught a lot about our body, or at least what I consider to be enough about our body to be experts in all things fertility and ovulation and menstrual cycle, the complete cycle. We were just given pads and told to make sure to carry them around the same time each month. At least a lot of women were. So it's fun to give out that information. But if your baby is over 6 months, if baby is getting solids, if your baby is sleeping longer stretches through the night, then come up with a backup plan, whether it be, condoms or spermicides. They offer the mini pill, or just fertility awareness. I like the fertility awareness method. I know about the time that I'm going to ovulate, which is why I knew so early when it did happen. But just know that there are other options out there, and there are natural methods available for you if you choose not to go with any of the hormonal routes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you thought that breastfeeding was birth control and across the board. Thank you. Bye-bye.